This project's lots of fun, and this first part is going to be your stand that you'll use for all of your signs throughout the year. So you want to paint both sides of it with just a light layer of paint. Add your layers slowly so that way you don't get too clumpy or anything. And then once you have both sides painted, go ahead and dry them all the way. Now comes the fun part about gluing it together. This is where you want to use just a little bit of the wood glue and put it in the lower corners of both of the stands. Once you have enough glue in the bottom corners, you're going to lay out two pieces equal distance into the grooves of the two stands. If you have extra hands, it can help create stability. Now put a little bit of glue in the longer section of the brackets on the top. Place your third piece into those brackets, and that's going to help create stability of your triangle. You want to allow this to dry while we're working on the other projects. Next, you're going to open up your package with all of your signs. There's 3 signs included in your kit. One for Valentine's Day, one for St. Patrick's, and one for all of the time. The great news is we're going to be continuing to add to this collection, and as a Maker member, as long as you are, you're going to get 20% off anything that you spend. So I took some water here, and I'm dipping my sponge into it. The reason for this is I want to create a little bit of watered down paint, so that way the background of score lines still can show up through the paint. So each time I'm dipping my sponge into a little bit of water, you don't want it to soak, but enough that you can still see through. It's going to cover at first, but you'll see as it dries, those background lines start to reveal themselves again. Continue to do this until you're happy with the results. For me, I found that 2, maybe 3 layers was the perfect amount, that I was able to get a good white coverage, but still be able to see the background. You could absolutely do the same technique with stain as well. Have fun with it and make them your own. When you're happy with the results, just place those to the side, and now we're going to have fun with the fronts. So I hate chasing the little pieces of lasers, so I'm going to take a piece of painter's tape, and I'll place it sticky side up, and that way I can pin all of my pieces to the table and use just a little bit of paint with a white sponge, always unloading, to just build those layers nice and slow. So all of the triangle pieces are going to make up your envelope, so I chose to paint those white, and then after I get that to the level that I want it, I'm going to move on to my hearts. I chose to do them pink, and then I'm going to add a little bit of white along the edges and blend that back in with my sponge, and that's going to give me just a little bit of an ombre look that helps those hearts pop off the page a little bit. So I just messed with it until I liked it. What I love about paint is you can always mess with it, add some more paint, and keep going back and forth with those colors until you're happy with the results. After your pieces are done, you're going to do that same dabbing technique with the white sponge over the wording on Love is in the Air, and then I painted the entire envelope white again because this is going to serve as the background to your envelope. After I paint all the insides, then I want to give it a nice border. I chose to do black just to match my stand, but you could absolutely do whatever color that you want. I did very quickly realize that doing it freehand might present some challenges, so then I just used painter's tape to block off where my wording touched my frame, and it made it a whole lot easier. So just go ahead and give yourself a nice wide berth, cover up those letters, give yourself the frame, and then you can peel your painter's tape back away and reveal your beautiful front. While that piece dries, I'm going to go ahead and start working on my welcome. When I do that part, I'm going to use the same white sponge and just go ahead and add a nice light layer of black throughout the welcome. You could absolutely get creative with this and do an ombre or two different colors. Just remember, if you want to create a different frame color, to tape it off, and that way you're not fighting an exercise in frustration. After you're done with your welcome, you're going to proceed and do the exact same thing with the lucky stencil that we did with our hearts. Just pop out those shamrocks. And then I did a little bit of white along the edges to also create the ombre, the same type thing that I did with the hearts here. Adding the white layer underneath helped the green kind of pop and create an ombre really easily without having to work too hard at it. Now we get to put it all together. I used a white sponge to just dab a light layer of glue on the backs of everything. I still unload with that same technique just like I was painting, and that way I don't get clumpy glue or things pushing out underneath it. The love one can be a little bit more challenging, so with this one I went ahead and added the glue and then placed my pieces on top of the envelope. They don't line up exactly, so don't stress yourself. Just get it lined up the best you can and then add your hearts wherever you see fit. Here I'm just adding a little bit of detail of white lines just to add a little bit of 3D element. Way to go, maker, you have done it. There's your wonderful shelf sitter with 3 awesome signs that you can change out throughout the seasons, and we look forward to showing you all of the other ones that we have in store. Have a great day. Thank you for being a Maker Tribe member.